Good morning once again, my brothers and sisters. Here we are for another day to study God's Word. He's allowed us to live this long. Let's see what He has to say to us today in 1 Samuel chapter 10. Now you remember the people of Israel have said to God through the prophet Samuel, "We want an earthly king. God, your leadership isn't good enough for us. We're not going to trust you. We want to be like all the other nations." And God has told them through the prophet, look, the kings are going to abuse you. They're going to monopolize you. They're going to take your very best for themselves and leave you the rest. Well, the people said, that's okay. We still want a king. You remember in chapter 9, Saul is the one God chooses to be the king. Samuel is instructed to anoint him as king. But Saul is painted as a figure that just doesn't really have any understanding. He's tall, he's good looking, but in terms of a heart that wants to follow God, he just doesn't seem to demonstrate that. But today we'll see something happen as God initiates Saul's inauguration. Let's just look at it together. The first verse, then Samuel took a flask of oil and poured it on Saul's head and kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you leader over his inheritance?" Now imagine Saul receiving this blessing from the prophet, wondering what's going on. I mean, this is the guy in the last chapter that couldn't find his father's donkeys. All right, so now here he is, being anointed by the prophet, being kissed by the prophet, being told that the Lord has made him leader over the Lord's inheritance. Notice God is still in the position of, these are my people, even if there will be a monarchy established. Verse 2, when you leave me today, you will meet two men near Rachel's tomb at Zelzah on the border of Benjamin. And they will say to you, the donkeys you set out to look for have been found. Wow. How does the prophet know this stuff? Well, God has revealed to Samuel the process he's going to go through as he brings Saul into power. And one thing that's happening here is God is answering the concern providentially. Those donkeys have been found. It says, and now your father has stopped thinking about them and is worried about you. He's asking, what shall I do about my son? All right, what happened to Saul? Well, first thing to see, God has supplied. Then you will go on from there until you reach the great tree of Tabor. Look at this, 3 men going up to God at Bethel will meet you there. So just understand something about these 3 guys. They're going up to God. This is a place to go and worship, right? One will be carrying 3 young goats. That would imply sacrifice. There will be one carrying 3 loaves of bread, again, associated with the offering at the temple, and another a skin of wine. All right, well, watch this. They will greet you and offer you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept from them. Okay, take the bread when they offer it to you. What is this about? Well, this is showing God's providing in a way that would lend itself towards sacrificial worship. After that, you will go to Gibeah of God, where there is a Philistine outpost, and as you approach the town, you will meet a procession of prophets coming down from the high place with lyres, tambourines, flutes, and harps being played before them, and they will be prophesying. Okay, so what does it mean to be prophesying? Well, a lot of people say if you're prophesying, it means you're telling the future. Well, and prophets do tell the future. But prophets normally speak the word of God, whether it's telling the future or instructing the people or pronouncing the threat of judgment. Thus saith the Lord comes from the prophet's mouth, and it's all about, I'm going to communicate to you what God told me to say to you, right? So here we have this scene where these guys are coming from the Gibeah of God post, right? The outpost, and they're prophesying as they come down the street, making song, music, lyres, tambourines, flutes, harps. Here they come. Well, what's this about? The Spirit of the Lord will come upon you in power, and you will prophesy with them. Wow, really? So God has demonstrated his sovereignty in bringing the donkeys back. God has demonstrated his provision in bringing the bread to Saul. And now God demonstrates his power by putting the Spirit of the Lord on Saul. Remember, in the Old Testament, it's not like the New Testament. The New Testament is teaching us that the Spirit of God lives inside the believer, that we are the temple of the Lord. But in the Old Testament, the Spirit of God came upon people for a purpose, for a time, and then would depart. All right. So now the Samuel the prophet's telling Saul, look, you're going to experience what it's like to have the power of God through his Spirit fall on you. You're going to prophesy with the prophets. You'll be changed into a different person. God is moving in your heart to bring you into his fold, his power. You're going to have this spiritual transformation. Once these signs are fulfilled, do whatever your hand finds to do, for God is with you. All right, once you see all these things happen, Saul, you have been officially inaugurated by God himself. Notice God is the actor. He's supplying sovereignly the donkeys that have been missing. He's supplying sovereignly the bread for the sacrificial system and the worship entailed there. He's now supplying the power of his Spirit. Samuel says, look, once you have all this, you're the king. Do what you think is right, because God is going to guide you. He's with you. All right, so go down ahead of me to Gilgal. I will surely come down to you to sacrifice burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. After all this stuff happens, Saul, I want you to go down to Gilgal. Okay. But wait. But you must wait 7 days until I come to you and tell you what you are to do. Now, that doesn't seem that complicated, does it? That's just a simple instruction. Wait until I get there. I'm going to tell you what to do. Keep that in the back of your mind. File that away. We'll revisit this command coming up. As Saul turned to leave Samuel, God changed Saul's heart, and all these signs were fulfilled that day. So everything Samuel said would happen is now in verse 9, it's all occurred, and God has moved in the heart of the king. It's God doing it. All right. Watch this. When they arrived at Gibeah, a procession of prophets met him. This is what Samuel told him about. The Spirit of God came upon him in power, and he joined in their prophesying. Wow. So these things did occur as Samuel predicted. When all those who had formerly known him saw him prophesying with the prophets, they asked each other, what is this that's happened to the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? Okay, so people are understanding God is moving on Saul. A man who lived there answered, and who is their father? So it became a saying, is Saul also among the prophets? And after Saul stopped prophesying, he went to the high place, and now Saul's uncle asked him and his servant, where have you been? Looking for the donkeys, he said. But when we saw they were not to be found, we went to Samuel. Okay, just historical narrative. Saul's uncle said, well, tell me what Samuel said to you. And Saul replied, he assured us that the donkeys had been found, but he did not tell his uncle what Samuel had said about the kingship. Is that a clue, you think? Why isn't Saul telling the whole story? Saul is holding back. Is he embarrassed? Does he think himself unworthy? Is he too shocked to relay the truth? We're not sure yet, but just notice in verse 16 that he doesn't bring it up. Samuel summoned the people of Israel to the Lord at Mizpah. So the prophet is now taking action to gather the people, and he said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought Israel up out of Egypt, and I delivered you from the power of Egypt and all the kingdoms that oppressed you. But you have now rejected your God." That is try never to have that sentence in the context of your life. Look at this. The people have told God, "You're not enough for us. We want a physical king. You've rejected your God who saves you out of all your calamities and distresses. You guys have history with me, and I've brought you through every bit of trouble that you've faced. And you have said, 'No, set a king over us.' So now present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and clans." Look how judiciously God moves to bring the appointment to Saul. When Samuel brought all the tribes of Israel near, the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. Then he brought forward the tribe of Benjamin, clan by clan, and Matri's clan was chosen. Finally, Saul, son of Kish, was chosen. But when they looked for him, he was not to be found. So understand this, right? Samuel has called all Israel to Mizpah to have this ceremony, but the one who's going to be anointed king isn't around. Where is he? Well, so they inquired further of the Lord, "Has the man come here yet?" And the Lord said, "Yes." Look at this. The Lord is instructing them about the whereabouts of Saul, and he says, "Yes, he has hidden himself among the baggage." Now, that's a picture, isn't it, church? Here he is, anointed to be king. He's been kissed by the prophet. He's been instructed what to do. He's been called to a meeting where all of Israel is gathered. They've gone through all the tribal selection and the clan selection, and his name has come to the surface as the one, and he's hiding. The author is telling us, giving us some understanding about the character of this man. Why is he hiding? Well, as the passage moves forward, they ran and brought him out. And as he stood among the people, again, look at this one detail that keeps coming to the surface. He was a head taller than any of the others. So what are we focused on again? Appearance. Appearance. Look how he looks. He's taller than all of us. Oh, okay, let's make him the king, right? Do we need to worry about the fact that he can't find donkeys when he's told by his dad to go find him? Do we need to worry about he doesn't know the prophet when he's standing right in front of him? He says, "Do you know the way to the prophet's house?" Should we worry about the fact that they've just gone through the selection process and the Lord has to instruct the people that, oh yeah, Saul's over there hiding? So they ran and they brought him out, and as he stood among the people, he was a head taller than any of the others. Again, the appearance. Samuel said to all the people, "Do you see the man the Lord has chosen? There's no one like him among all the people." Is that a reference to Saul's great godly character and how he knows the Lord and wants to serve him with all his heart? No, that's a reference to Saul's height. There's no one like him among all the people. This isn't about leadership characteristics. This is just about appearance. Then the people shouted, "Oh, hey, long live the king. We are so happy to have a king. We don't really worry about his qualifications. We're just happy he looks good." Samuel explained to the people the regulations of the kingship. He wrote them down on a scroll and deposited it before the Lord. So now we're getting into how the monarchy is going to work. And then Samuel dismissed the people, each to his own home. So the meeting's over. Saul has become king. Saul also went to his home in Gibeah, accompanied by valiant men whose hearts God had touched. But some troublemakers said, "How can this fellow save us?" They despised him. They brought him no gifts. But Saul kept silent. He didn't say anything. Well, again, what do we learn from this? Let's just think about the installation of the king and what we're being told. One, we see that God shows the prophet everything. So God is still orchestrating events and revealing that to Samuel. All right? The donkeys are found. God is in control of circumstances. He's known where they've been all along, and even though Saul can't find them, God can. He's superior. God's provided for his king by bringing the bread to him to provide provision for him. God's given Saul his spirit, changed his heart. God's willing to lead the king. The monarchy through the prophet Samuel is connected to worship and sacrifice, but the king is hiding in the baggage. It really sets up to look like something's wrong, doesn't it? Something's not quite complete about this new political monarch, this king who's supposed to rule us. And we're going to watch that play out as the book of 1 Samuel proceeds from here. But for now, we see that God has allowed his people to have their wish. They have a king. Wow. It's one thing to love God with all your heart, and it's another thing to tell God to bless what you want. And when we tell him to bless what we want, it leads to disaster. And here it is. We'll see it play out. God bless you, church. Serve him well today.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.